Joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business, big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. He does such an awesome job covering the Eagles for NBC Sports Philadelphia. We steal his work all the time, but we credit, unlike some of the content creators out there on social media, that, of course, the great Dave Zangaro joins us. Dave, good morning, man. How you doing?
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going well. Yesterday, I'm sure you were busy. The last couple of days, I'm sure you were busy with the rosters being finalized yesterday. For now, until Howie Roseman makes some changes again. We'll get to that in a minute. But just your overall reaction to the 53-man roster, any surprises stand out to you?
There weren't many surprises. You know, I think that they're making those trades on Sunday took away a lot of the surprise element of what the roster would look like. There were some minor ones. I mean, they went heavier on the offensive line than I expected. They put Miles Hinton on IR, which I didn't know was going to happen. I thought maybe there'd be a phantom injury for the other rookie offensive tackle. But, yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, I think some people expected them to hold on to Anais Smith, but based on what we've seen this summer, he didn't really earn that roster spot. So I think they got that one right, too.
Yeah, arguably the biggest surprise, or maybe the biggest story, is Darius Cooper, the undrafted free agent out of Tarleton State, making the team. What did he do in camp this year that really pushed him onto the active roster?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a little bit of everything. And Nick Sirianni really explained this pretty well a few weeks ago, where there were splash plays at times from Cooper, but that's going to happen with receivers. If there's an athletic receiver, he's going to make some splash plays, but it wasn't just that from Cooper. It was that he was really consistent with it, and he did those things day in and day out. And there's potential there. You don't want to put a ceiling on a guy, and you look at Darius Cooper coming from an FCS school, and you think there's something to develop here because he's athletic. He has kind of a unique body type because he's not the tallest guy, but he's like stoutly built, and he's going to be pretty good on special teams based on what we saw this summer. So there was a lot to like about him, and Sirianni yesterday talked about his ability to do the dirty work and basically be a blocker, which is something they now need without Johnny Wilson for this season. So that honestly wasn't surprised yesterday that Darius Cooper made the team. I thought he had it made, and it's the right decision. It was good to see an undrafted kid come in and earn a spot like that.
When it comes to selecting a player like Darius Cooper over an Anais Smith, how hard is it for GMs? And I know you've been talking to Howie for years, and I'm sure you've talked to other GMs across football over years of covering the NFL and covering the Eagles. I feel like we all get the sense that most GMs would rather side with the draft pick that they selected instead of somebody that was undrafted. But the Eagles have shown in recent years they just want to put the best players on the field, which is something that they did not do a couple of years ago. It's not that long ago where players that looked like they were exploding all of a sudden were put back on the bench because paid players, paid veterans were back, even though they probably weren't deserving to be on the field. How difficult is it for a GM to say, we'll go with the guy that we undrafted because we don't, a lot of guys don't want to show that they made a mistake with certain players?
Sure, and I think that's natural too, right? If you draft a player, you obviously believed in that player enough to use that resource to get them into Philadelphia. So I give them credit for not compounding mistakes, because it's very easy to fall into that trap. And there's also the element of this where you're playing a game. You're trying to get not just 53 guys, but you're trying to fill out your practice squad too. So it becomes a game of, all right, well, if we cut this player, how does he sneak through waivers? Does he get through waivers? Will he be willing to sign back on the practice squad? Can he still be a part of this team in a different way? And so it's not just necessarily keeping the best 53 players. That's part of it, but you're also playing a game a little bit too. So it all factors in. But you're right. I think some GMs get into trouble when they prioritize the players they drafted, and maybe it's not completely vanity, right? I think there's part of it that is vanity. They want to look good. They want their players they drafted to succeed because it helps them in the long run. But also, I really think it just goes back to the evaluation they had of the player coming out of college, and sometimes that's really tough to break.
So, Dave, this morning I was reading your breakdown by the numbers of the Eagles' 53-man roster on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. Everybody should go ahead and check that out because you put in nice little blurbs on each position group as well. But when you see them take more offensive linemen this year than they did last year, less edge rushers than they did last year, the numbers, how much should fans read into that as an evaluation from the Eagles of where they think they're at depth-wise?
Maybe a little bit, but as Howie mentioned, they're not done, and the roster is ever evolving. This is really the starting line, not the finish line for the roster. So I think you can read into it a little bit because if they're light at a position, there's a chance they won't eventually be light at that position once they make some moves. And I don't know if it's going to come through claims via the waiver system. They are dead last in the waiver order. It's possible if there's a player they like, but I think that there are certain positions they're going to monitor early in the season, and to me, edge rusher is at the very top of that list. And it's nothing to do with Jalen Hunt or Nolan Smith. They're very bullish on those guys, but after that, I don't know what you're going to get from Josh Uche, Aziz Ojulari, and Ogbo Okoronkwo, the three veterans they have here. Maybe they'll really play well. You don't feel the need to go out and get anyone else, but that is definitely the position I have circled where you might get into the season and realize you don't have enough.
All right, so last thing, do you think there is a timeline, right? Because Howie yesterday during his press conference straight up said the roster could look different 24 hours from now, but then in that same clip he said that it could be we'll find out what we have in September, to your point. So do you think this is something that we could see change before week one? Is this something where we watch the first month of the season and they go, all right, let's make a trade? Or do they wait until the trade deadline, or as Howie usually does the week before?
Yeah, this is going to be a boring answer because I think it could be any one of those three, and it's really dictated by the opportunity they have, right? So if there's a player they like who got cut yesterday and they're on waivers, yeah, maybe they try to go get them. But if not, I could really see this being see how this goes in September, like Howie said. See if they're getting enough pressure off the edge, or if they get into the season and it's not working, they might have to go get someone. Now, it doesn't mean that that's going to solve the problem either, because we've seen they've brought in edge rushers before, whether it's Robert Quinn or Charles Harris. They've brought in veterans before, and it hasn't worked. So it might not work again, but they have to be willing to try because this is what they view as a Super Bowl contending roster. And if they have the opportunity to bolster it, they have to do it, especially knowing that they're projected to have 12 picks next year.
Absolutely. Dave, thanks for the time, man. Keep up the great work. We'll be following you along throughout the course of the season. We'll be having you on through the course of the season. And thank God that I get to say through the course of the season and not the preseason anymore. I'm excited for real football to return.
Yeah, I think we all are. Thanks again.
There he is, Dave Zangaro on the Comcast Business Hotline from NBC Sports Philadelphia. All right.